Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Promoted channel. I appreciate you joining me today. Today, I'm going to actually do something a little different. I want to do a reaction video. I had this video recommended to me about the top 7 interview questions and answers updated for the current job market and interview cycle. And so I just wanted to give you my genuine opinion. And so I'm going to start and stop the video throughout and give my comments and critiques and things that I either agree with or disagree with and why. And we will take it from there. If you like this video format, please leave a comment below, like the video, message me, whatever makes the most sense for you. But please let me know your feedback. And if you want me to continue to do things like this and find other career content out there that either could be useful or not useful and also spark some conversation. So with that, let's get started.
In this video, I am going to give you the best answers to the 7 most common interview questions. If you have a job interview coming up in the next 24 hours, watch this video. I have more than 30 years of experience as a hiring manager, and if you gave me these answers in your job interview, I would hire you. And also, just very quickly,
just something to throw out immediately. Just because someone has 30 years of experience does not necessarily mean that they have good hiring instincts. So again, we'll see what the details are. I mean, I highly doubt that someone with 4.5 million subscribers and has 30 years of experience, that it's not going to be good advice, but just something to take away that whenever you are looking at coaching or videos or advice or any of those things, honestly, somewhat scratch the years of experience and try to figure out the actual track record and results. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got is take advice from people who have what you want. And if they don't have what you want and what you're shooting for, they might not be the best piece of advice or people to take the advice from. So just something to kind of critique there a little bit, that experience doesn't necessarily equate to success and knowledge. Same thing with having book smarts doesn't equate to real life results necessarily. So not judging this video yet or this potential or this particular influencer in any way, but just wanted to point that out.
Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thousands of you are passing your job interviews at the first attempt. I can only help you if you are subscribed, and please give the video a like because that motivates me to create more great content for you. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, let's start working through my best answers to the top 7 common interview questions. Please write these down. Interview question number 1 is going to be, tell me about yourself. This is a brilliant answer. Thank you for this opportunity. I have the skills and knowledge to match the job description. I am a diligent, hardworking, dynamic, and trustworthy collaborator who understands how important my work is to the success of your company. After graduating from college with good grades in my chosen subjects, I gained experience in various job roles, working as a team, delivering excellent customer service, and completing time-sensitive projects. I am a high achiever. In my last job, I was praised by my manager for how I took the lead during problems and for my flexibility with my job description. If you hire me, I will be a supportive collaborator, bring creative ideas to the team, and act as a positive role model for your company.
All right, let's bring that answer back up since it was in writing here. Let's see if we can get to exactly where we're looking here. Oh, okay. I am going to very highly disagree with this answer. I think that this sounds too canned, is too generic, and it just, honestly, this feels like a bad AI response, if I'm being completely honest. That's what this comes off as. I mean, it just, with the way that it kicks off, thank you for this opportunity. That should have already been said more in the greeting when you actually are in the room or you get on the video call or whatever it is, whatever the interview media is. from the get-go, it should have been nice to meet you, nice to see you. I appreciate the opportunity. Are we ready to get started? So on and so forth. So I don't think having a thank you in this is a particular response for tell me about yourself. In addition, after that, we go into saying that I have the skills and knowledge to match the job description, diligent, hardworking, dynamic, and trustworthy. These are just unnecessary buzzwords, if I'm being completely honest. I think that honestly going much more organic and candid, and I actually like to respond to this question with a question, but ultimately you do get to some form of, a prose or a paragraph type of response, elevator speech, if you will. My recommendation here for tell me about yourself is to actually respond with, well, do you want to know personal or professional? And this allows you to scope appropriately, as well as usually this is the first question of the interview. So you might still have a little bit of nerves, a little bit of anxiety. You might still be a little bit uneasy. But by you confidently responding to that with a question of, what do you want to know about me, personal or professional? That allows you to take control, have an additional second, and realize that you're going to be a part of this interview too. So that's actually one of my big hacks here. And almost always they're going to come back with personal and professional. Very rarely are they just going to go professional only, or obviously they're not going to go personal only. At least I've never had those two responses in my entire life or entire career. So now you know to mix in a little bit of both. But I think in terms of telling me about yourself, this almost feels like an extended resume summary of what should be at the top. And I just don't feel like the human interaction in an interview should be a complete repeat of what is on your resume. And so getting into a little bit of your personal, stick to your hobbies, family, things that are important, maybe what your personal growth journeys are, or things that you're looking to improve. And in terms of your career, I would stick to the most relevant recent experiences. So taking myself as an example as a technology professional, I'm not necessarily going to sit there and spend a bunch of time in my summary or my tell me about yourself about my individual contributor jobs now that I'm in leadership, now that I'm at that senior manager director level role. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time when I was an individual contributor. For me, I might kick it off. And this is actually what I did in my interviews most recently is I believe my IT career to be a pretty standard traditional path. I went from this to this, and then this, and then this, and now we're at the leadership. And, in there, I might have given a quick little specialty once or twice, especially once I got to just before the leadership and managerial. Over my career, this was my specialty that I developed. And then now that we're into leadership, here's what I've done at leadership and the impacts I've had at companies. And you're not going to deliberately say that, you have what you need based off of the job description. Like pointing that out just, again, feels fake and obnoxious, but you could say, here's the impacts and things that I've done at these companies and how I think this relates to you, right? And then, actually you can use that to then flip it back on them and say, tell me a little bit about yourselves, right? What is your role here? Where do you come from, right? And then now, again, you're making this a two-way street interview. I think that this response is incredibly wrong. Like I said, it feels like a canned AI response. Tell me about yourself should be a little bit personal, a little bit professional, total of maybe 60 seconds tops, and highlighting ultimately the growth and impact, both on the personal side and on the professional side. That's relevant to the job that you're going for.
Interview question number 2 is, why do you want to work here? Here is another top scoring answer for you. I want to work here because, having researched your company, I am attracted to your high standards, positive workplace culture, and how you take advantage of the opportunities in the industry. You are constantly progressing as a company, which gives me the confidence this is a place where I can build a long-term career. I will get to do a job I am passionate about while working alongside other ambitious, standards-driven, and focused professionals. Interview question.
All right, let's do this same thing again here. So again, this just feels like a bad AI generic response. Why do you want to work here? Honestly, you should have done homework right after you landed the interview, and especially since this is probably interview number 2, where it's either in person with the hiring manager or something along those lines. Once you had the notification of that phone screen, you should have been looking at social media, checking their website, and actually doing homework and research on the organization. And that's what you're going to relate here into why do you want to work here, right? Like he hints at things of saying high standards, positive work culture, etc. But what's tangible there? What's tactical? What can you feel? What resonates? Again, this feels like a terrible AI generic response. So he has the right idea here in this video, but what you really want to do is tie it back to them personally. If you check their social media, you see they're attending conferences, or they have different initiatives, or they're polling different things about their customers maybe, or whatever it might be. Look at that and tailor that back into it. Like, hey, I see you guys pushing the envelope by doing A, B, and C. I had an interview string with a company where they actually started their own conference for property management software, specifically in software suites, like 7 years ago. And they've been hosting it every single year. And, they have, quite a few thousand attendees every single year. And so that's what I mentioned. I see that you guys are industry leaders. You're pushing the envelopes. You're inviting partners and customers and people and just the general public together into your conference. And I liked some of the seminars that you did on this, and this. It shows that you're really trying to push the envelope. Like, giving the specifics is key. It's just like your resume, right? The employer wants to see your metrics, your impacts. And the more specific you can go, the better. It goes both ways. So being able to comment on why you want to work there with specific tangibles that you got from your homework, from your network connections, if you're able to connect with people or already know people at the organization, whatever it might be, you want it to be company specific. Why do you want to work here? This is just a generic platitude.
Interview question number 3 is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Here we go. My strengths are an excellent match for the job description. I am a fast and diligent worker who completes more work than the average person. I am cost conscious and will use company supplies and resources responsibly to help save money. Another strength is how I take ownership of my professional development to ensure I add value to my team. My biggest weakness is impatience. I sometimes get slightly frustrated when others slow down my work. However, I am aware of my weakness and working hard to improve my influencing skills to persuade others to increase their work.
Everything is wrong with this answer. First of all, there's no actual weakness. This is a strength masked as a weakness. That's what this is. Also, perfect freeze frame. Look at this facial expression. Your weakness should be a genuine weakness. He has the right idea again at the end of saying that, working hard to make the change, but there's no modality there. Again, specifics matter here. You do want to give a genuine weakness. Nobody's coming in 150% qualified and a perfect human being. But what other human beings can resonate with is understanding what you aren't great at and what your actual weakness is, and being humble enough to admit that, but also say how you are trying to fix it. And so, for instance, in my regard, so I just recently took a new role where I am still in the technology realm, but I'm heavily overseeing software development instead of IT infrastructure. Just two very different job roles. And, this could be the case for anybody, right? It's essentially I am hands-on, ignorant to the people that I'm leading. But what I'm really coming in with is operations, project management, etc. And so that's one of my weaknesses that I presented in the interview. Ironically, I wasn't even asked this question. I just presented that up. I wanted to make sure that it was known, hey, this is a weakness that I have coming into this role, but here's what I'm going to do to true it up. And ironically, I actually made it a part of the interview of saying, hey, what technology pieces do you use? What are the languages that you use? Got those in the interview process and made that a discussion, and then also started my own learning path of saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do and rectify it. And the company's also providing learning and training on it as well. But your weakness should be a genuine weakness. And I am cost conscious and will use company supplies and resources responsibly. I mean, I guess that's a strength. I don't really know why that's worth mentioning here. I genuinely don't. Anybody that is in an interview on the hiring side of the table and judging you by how many pens and notebooks you're going to use, or maybe even the fact that you're using a pen and a notebook versus a computer anymore, I don't really know. That's just completely wrong. And saying a strength is that I'm an excellent match for the job description. You're a fast and diligent worker, completes more than the average person. Spit and sawdust. Show me, right? Tell me, right? So my strength is my output. here's what I did. If you look at my resume, I had this much more output, or I increased efficiency by this much, or I saved this much money. Again, let the work speaks for itself. This is another empty platitude followed by a theoretical strength that's masked as a weakness. And this just isn't humanly relatable. Again, show your human side. We are all made up of strengths and weaknesses.
Output. That is a brilliant answer. Interview question number 4 is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is another brilliant response that will impress the hiring manager. Here we go.
Brilliant.
In 5 years, I would like to still work for your company, either in this role with extra responsibility or having earned a promotion. During the next 5 years, I would complete various training courses to diversify my skills, have experience across different company departments, and be someone the company could use to help train new team members.
I hate this one less than the other answers, if I'm being completely honest. I can honestly say I don't know that mentioning still working for the company is worth it. I do think maybe the higher up the ladder you go in terms of leadership, executive, senior, mentioning that you do want to stay somewhere long term is key. So I think that's probably okay to keep in. I'm not going to mandate it that it's unnecessary, but I think that, again, I'm going to dig into specificity here, right? People want to hire people and want to work with people who have a vision for themselves. I remember talking with, a previous leader of mine about what our upcoming financial goals are, in terms of, I want X million dollar or X amount of money in assets, or X amount of money in liquid cash, or whatever it might be, or, net worth of this or gross worth of this, and those sorts of things. And being maybe undecided entirely about the professional side, like where that's going to be, but that could be a part of this. If you do know the professional side, again, in my interview cycle that I just recently went through, one of the things that I was asked was a question similar to this. And, but it wasn't about where do I see myself in 5 years, but it's just, where do I want to take my career? Like, what is my end game? And ironically, this is a question I like to ask candidates as well, is what are you currently shooting towards? The farthest you can see in the future, what is that? Because that's the other cruxing thing about this question in general. I'm going to critique the 5-year question. I don't like that. I think framing it more of, what is the farthest out goal that you have for yourself personally and professionally? Give me both. That's a better way to frame this, especially because the younger the audience, if you're 18 and you're trying to ask them, entry level position where they see themselves in 5 years, that's, 28% of their life or so that you're trying to ask them to forecast. That's just not fathomable. So I think that's the better way to frame the question. But getting back to the answer itself, being specific. So when I was asked the question, what is my end game and what am I shooting towards? I was being hired by the CTO of a company, and I absolutely said, I want your job. I want the C-level job. I want to be a CTO or CIO in the end, and possibly even a CEO. I don't quite know where I fit, whether I'm best as a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like where I fit in the company hierarchy is the most effective rank order yet. But I know I at least want to be C-level. The question is, where in that C-level overall hierarchy do I want to be? And just being transparent about that. Hey, I want to be, where you are. Even my previous role, I actually told the CEO, I want to be their succession plan. That was, I think just being transparent up front of that. So again, being specific so that the company can actually help you achieve that. And if you're saying a vision for something that's in the future, then obviously you're going to complete various trainings, whether that's on your own, self-study, self-bought, company fund. Like, I just think that's an obvious. So I think just being specific and telling them, hey, here's what I got. And if you even have different milestones along the way, hey, this is how I see my career going. Boom, 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 boom. Ultimately ending up here in 5 years. Bam. Or, I honestly don't quite know, but I know that I want to get to the senior leadership level, the executive level, the VP. Even if you maybe know the level, but you don't quite know the sector or the job role, give them that. But again, give them something specific, something tangible. Again, just consistently empty platitude.
Interview question number 5 is, why do you want to leave your current job? Now, be very careful how you answer this question. Don't be negative about your current or former employers.
best advice in the video thus far. Don't even know the rest. He's probably going to say a little bit more in the statement, but that is absolutely key. Do not badmouth your previous company, your previous employer, or anything. Give a genuine reason at the same time, but you don't have to bring them down to do so. You don't have to bring yourself up, or you don't have to bring yourself down to the level of negativity in order to convey that. As an example, I had a client recently who really what their issue with the company was that the executive leadership just was consistently making bad decisions behind closed doors and reinvesting money incorrectly in the company. And it was just disagreement after disagreement after disagreement after disagreement. And on top of that, the company was continuing down from a financial perspective. It was continuing down from a revenue perspective. It just wasn't going in the right direction. And just no matter what, the change wasn't happening. Is that something that was said in the interview by them? No, I said, hey, here's the way to frame this. That, hey, there was a disagreement in regards to the way that the revenue should be generated. Here was my idea and my path forward, right? And now you're saying that you're focusing just simply on the revenue generation, and this was my idea. I also had a question similar to this, and I had somebody actually on the other side of the interview table question back and say, well, what was the actual difference? I'm like, well, here was the difference in where the funds were directed to was this and this. And they dug a little bit deeper and we went back and forth. But it's one of those things where you don't have to sit there and say that they are terrible or they are dumb or they are ignorant or the leadership was toxic and terrible. And you don't have to bring them down negatively to focus on simply the positive as to what the disagreement was. You can also say it, from let's go culture perspective. A lot of people are maybe leaving companies because of burnout, because of just a lack of work-life balance, if that's something that you're seeking. Then you could say that, hey, I'm seeking a position where I can work my 40, 50, 60 hours, whatever your thing is. And when I'm off, I can be off for the vast majority, or I can at least just take PTO and be peaceful. Whatever it is, you could say that this is what I'm looking for. And that's what has me in the market. You can focus on your intentions, what you are trying to get out of this and what your next organization in an ideal world is. And very rarely, if ever, even mention the previous employer, much less have to kind of bring them down and dog them.
Co-workers or boss? This is a great answer. Here we go. I want to leave my current job because I have reached my full potential. The company I've been working for have been fantastic, and we have achieved many great things while I've been there. However, I now want to work for a different company where my experience will be fully utilized and where I can work with different people on new projects that further develop my workplace skills.
I actually read this as a contradiction. So why do you want to leave your current job? I think saying that you want to leave because you've reached your full potential, but then you want to go to a place where your experience can be fully utilized is actually a contradiction. Because if you're at your full potential, you're not saying you're at your full potential at the organization. You're not saying the organization is the limit or the title is the limit or the position is the limit. You are saying you are at your potential. Then you're jumping into saying that you need to have your experience being fully utilized. But if you're at your full potential, there is no more experience to utilize. So I think that I think I know what he's going for, but I think it's an incorrect framing to where he's trying to say that he wants a place with growth. I think that you actually use that word growth. Nowhere in here is the word growth in any capacity. So you could say, I want to leave my current job because I've reached a plateau and I would like the opportunity to grow into blah, 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 blah. Again, going back to that same 5-year question, you could probably avoid this question entirely in the interview or the other one, depending on which one is asked first, by bringing these two together and saying, here's what has me in the market. Here's what I'm looking to be in 5 years. And I just don't have that opportunity at this organization. And that's what I'm looking for next. So I think, again, this is not a lack of specificity. Like, while there is that to some degree, I think this answer is just a walking contradiction or a speaking contradiction, more or less.
Skills. Interview question number 6 is, tell me about a time you faced a challenge and how you handled it. Here we go. In my last job, the company website crashed late on a Friday afternoon. The website was integral to the company's success, so I volunteered to stay behind late after work to find a solution. I researched online for possible causes, but could not find any. I then hired a web developer through the website upwork.com to investigate the problem for me. I held a Zoom call with the web developer and answered their questions. They quickly determined the website server was inadequate for the amount of traffic being generated, and they guided me through the process of upgrading the company's server. Interview.
I mean, in the grand scheme, this isn't a bad story. I think that this story is not very plausible. I think it's for the sake of the video, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in that regard. But overall, I mean, I think that this is actually a very well-framed story for this question. You state the problem, you state what you realize the impact was, then how you went about resolving it, and what the ultimate solution was. So I think that is the only piece I would say missing from this is that final piece that after here was the impact. Here's what we did to actually make sure it never resolved again. I initiated us to have a lessons learned discussion, and A, B, and C policy changed, or this changed, or whatever, whatever it might be. Maybe it was in the resolution, taking this specific example. It wasn't just upgrading the server, but it was auto scaling of the server up and down based off of web traffic, whatever it might be. That would be my only critique here, is having at the end how do we make sure this didn't happen again? Again, I don't think the story is very plausible, but when you are answering the question, tell me about a time you faced a challenge and how you handled it. State the problem, state the known impact that you realized, what your process was to resolve it, what the ultimate resolution was, and then what you did to make sure it never happened again. That's the key to answering this question successfully, which I would say is given in this answer, excluding that final part of what do you do to make sure it never happened again.
Server. Interview question number 7 is, why should we hire you? Now, you need to make sure your answer stands out from the other candidates. Here's exactly what to say. You should hire me for 4 reasons. Number 1, I am a brilliant match for the job description, and my passion for this work means I can come into the team and have an instant impact. Number 2, I have a strong work ethic, meaning I will get more work completed than the average person. The third reason you should hire me is because I have a cost-conscious work ethic. I will do all I can to help the company save money and streamline processes and systems to improve efficiency. And finally, you should hire me because I have created a 30, 60, and 90-day plan of action that explains what I will do in the role, and I would like to give you a copy.
Okay, what I don't like about this answer is that it's a repeat of the tell me about yourself answer, if you really think about it. That's all he did here. So again, one of my critiques of the tell me about yourself answer was that it should not simply be what really should be a resume summary. So you shouldn't just be regurgitating what you have there. So now this is the 3rd time that this company has effectively heard the same speech, the same characteristics. If you are banking your laurels on the same 3 character traits of good work ethic, efficient worker, and brilliant match for the job description, and you're just doing that over and over and over again, no, there needs to be more to you. You need to be well-rounded. You need to be actually dynamic, not to use one of his cheesy keywords from earlier. It is a valid word when it's actually accurate. So that's my first critique of why should we hire you. Do not regurgitate your tell me about yourself. Do not regurgitate your cover letter. Do not regurgitate your resume summary. This should be a unique answer to everything else that they've said here. Because at the end of the day, the rest of the interview questions really shouldn't have touched on maybe some of your unique character attributes and unique experiences. As well as there's probably going to be some stories and some experiences that if you can remember from the job description that you haven't even said yet. So you could kind of tell some of those stories too. 30, 60, 90-day plan, I think is awesome, but it's also very difficult depending on the interview stage that you're at. Again, if we're just past phone interview, you're at that first interview stage with maybe the hiring manager or something like that, and you're going to have a couple more, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to develop a 30, 60, 90-day plan. So I think that that's less than likely. I think that that can be a part of the later interview stages. there's actually quite a few companies that I've interviewed with and had colleagues and clients and people interview with where they want that up front, but it's not until the latter stages. It's usually like a final presentation. So I don't necessarily like that one. So why should we hire you? I think that answering this question, again, it should be a quick elevator speech that does distinguish you, focuses on your character, potentially some additional experiences, and going from there. And so to give you, one of mine that, again, this isn't going to be in my resume summary. It's not in my cover letter, but why we should hire you. You should hire me because I am someone who is never complacent. I live by the motto, complacency doesn't equal success. Here is something that I've learned recently, which is the understanding of the software development lifecycle. And I'm bringing that to the table, and something I've learned in the last couple of weeks in order to show you that I'm dedicated to being a forever student. And I come with the experience of successful project management, implementing initiatives in that regard from scratch, for improving ticket handling efficiency by 75%, by reducing escalations by 30%, maybe laddering, listing off some different statistics. I'm not doing this as if I'm directing an interview. And that's the kind of stuff that you want to say. You want to do a little bit of character, a little bit of professional, and ideally have it not be a complete regurgitation of what you were doing. So, yeah. I think that overall, I'm not going to judge this content creator off of a single video, but I do think that the vast majority of the questions and answers here, I'm not going to necessarily critique the questions, but the answers are lacking specificity and they're lacking humanization. Whenever you are answering any interview questions, you want to make it human relatable, make it emotional, make it specific, make it relate to what they are doing. And here's the thing, you can even do this throughout the interview, getting all of the intel that you need. Ask questions along the lines of, what do you see as the immediate problems for this position to resolve? When asked the question, when have you had a challenge and how did you overcome it? You give your response and you could say, what challenges has this position faced before? Or what challenges has the company faced with this role historically? Right? Again, gather that intel, make it a two-way street consistently and get what you need so that on every answer, you're actually providing the specifics to them and making it relate to them. There is still 2.5 minutes even after this, so I'm curious if there's any actual valid content or not. Let's see.
Now, if you want to download that exact 30, 60, and 90-day plan.
Oh, all right. So this is just him selling additional shenanigans. So yeah, that's the thing. Any and all interview questions, focus on value, be specific, humanize your answers. If you want to use AI to practice interviewing, it's actually a great tool to practice. I would highly recommend, if you're going to do that, use ChatGPT and use the phone app for the voice recognition and do it conversationally. Much better than typing, because then you can actually get your organic critiques and you can have it give you a lot of feedback along the way. So that would be kind of my pro tip there, is any interview question, top 7, top 50, or bottom 10, doesn't matter the question. Answer in a way that relates specifically to that company. Humanize it, in terms of actually be genuine and be and make it be felt, especially if you're talking about strengths and weaknesses or times you had a challenge or times you made a mistake or whatever it is. Like, don't try to mask you being awesome as a weakness or something. Just genuinely admit when you were human and when you made a mistake. So again, this is my first reaction video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts, if you like this, like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment down below. I'll respond to every comment that's made. And we just started a community on School. If you'd like, we're trying to bring people together who are like-minded professionals and growing. That will be linked down below. If you do join School, you will get 2 hours of free one-on-one coaching with me. So please do that. And then send me a DM on School and we'll get you squared away and scheduled up for those initial 2 hours of coaching. And otherwise, I appreciate you watching. Look forward to next time.